This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're like me, someone who gets stuck in their head a lot, BetterHelp might be the answer. And right now, if you visit betterhelp.com/sold-separately or use the link in this video's description, you can get 10% off your first month. So give it a try. Remember, you can't take care of anyone else in your life until you take care of yourself.
And now, on with the show.
I'm Lydia-Grace, and I think and believe that happiness is lighting up your corner of the world wherever you're planted.
Okay, Lydia-Grace Meggs, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking time for me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Excited to have you. I guess it's safe to say you have grown up in one of the most talked about families, right? Through the time, and even got onto a reality show. Welcome to Plathville. I know that in recent years you've described that whole experience, looking back, as a cult and a cult experience. Was there a time when you heard that when you were coming up in the family, or was that something that you determined after the fact? I was curious to when you first heard that term or thought that about growing up.
Yeah, I definitely never heard that term, but that's to be expected, everyone has their own bias, perspective, and opinion. And I think some people fall on the extreme side, and organized religion, in my experience, has a tendency to fall under that extreme side. Not all of it, just you can't stereotype everything, but that term was definitely never used because everyone was convinced it was the right way. So it wasn't till I started deconstructing after I left. I think I was around 20. I just turned 20, and I just started stumbling across all these social media pages, and so much of it started clicking, and I was like, wait, I thought that was normal, or wait, this person actually went through that too, and they're saying that's not normal, or hey, they got out, I'm not alone. There's other people that are still struggling on coping, on how to recover after getting out. And that's when the term cult started popping up in my mind. And I wouldn't say I was hesitant to use it, but I think that term can be thrown around a lot. And I want to because in my opinion, it's a strong word. So I don't just want to use it lightly. And I don't know, the more discovery I did, the more unsinking I did from that culture, the more I realized that it was a cult. And you can get super technical about it, but it definitely was.
And to bring people up to speed who maybe don't know about the show, welcome to Plathville, or what we're talking about. You describe it. I guess it's fair to say it's a very conservative family, right? Very religion based. You guys were growing up very strict. A lot of oppression, right? You weren't able to do certain things. You weren't able to watch TV and other certain things. Kind of walk us through a little bit of that, like what it was like growing up in the family and some of the dynamics that happened for people who may not know.
Yeah. Well, I will try to dive in without diving too deep. It's just a very much celebrated culture to live off the grid, and not just as, a farmer per se, because so many of the people in that do believe in wholesome farming and living off the grid in that way, but off the grid, not joining culture in every sense of the word, they don't listen to normal music. We don't wear certain clothes, meaning normal clothes, we don't cut our hair. We have a look that we try to, whether it's through our makeup, whether it's through the way that we present ourselves. And then of course, everything is ruled and designated by scripture, which is the Bible. So everyone is pretty much on the same page, but there's so many variations. There were so many families we were friends with growing up that were just slightly different, but those differences can either make or break friendship in that culture. And it's so interesting looking back, seeing how, this specific family decided that, maybe they were going to have TV in their home, and maybe they were going to watch Toy Story, and not being allowed to be friends with them because that's considered to be of the devil, but yet they still believe everything the same as we do. There's a lot of small little differences, but also the similarities all across the board. And I think everyone's really lonely in that culture at the end of the day. I don't know if they'd ever admit it, But I think that's part of the reason why they choose to go that route, is because there was something in their life that happened that was like a paradigm shift. And so the pendulum swung all the other way around. I really haven't talked or grown up with anyone, even parental wise as a kid. Like, I heard their stories, the parents of these large families, that they hadn't been through something that made them decide to take that switch to this organized religion, IBLP, Bill Gothard, ATI, whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. And I think you just really grew up isolated as a kid as well. I knew I was lonely growing up, but it was it was just a persistent feeling ever since I was a toddler that I don't remember not feeling that way. And I think that one of the biggest things that is a takeaway from now getting out of that culture and being in the real world is their perpetual loneliness of always feeling misrepresented or behind or left out. And it's all in here. But that's the biggest thing about getting out from that culture, is that your mind is so ingrained in it, and you don't realize that there's so many little things that you've been taught that you have to deconstruct and you have to heal yourself from. And that takes years. Yeah. And I think just this year, I really started to realize that it's not going to happen as fast as I want it to. And I'm not behind, and I'm not misrepresented. I might be completely misunderstood. But if I can't explain myself to other people because I'm still trying to figure out how I work and think based off of 20 years of my life, and I've only been out, to be completely honest, I didn't get out till I was 23 because I was heavily steeped in Trump culture till I was 23. And it took me moving out to Arizona to kind of get all of that behind me. And living in Arizona has been an experience, to say the least, as well. But I'm so glad I moved out here, because where I live right now, the culture is thriving. And there's so many people my age that they grew up going to public school. They went to college. They got a 4-year degree. Like, they're working in corporate. And maybe I don't line up with all those things per se, and I don't want to do all those things necessarily. And let's face it, I'm probably not going to go to university like they did when they were 20 years old. But it's a humbling experience, but it's really cool to get to try to bond with them. And I don't want to say live through them, but kind of get to know what it's like to be normal, in so many ways, I feel like I'm 20 years old. And I'm not. And it's a good and bad thing. Like, I need to grow up in some ways. In other ways, I'm like, whoa, give myself some grace. Like, I didn't get to go through that. I never was exposed to that. I didn't experience that. So yeah, I feel like a child living in an adult's body. Sometimes it's really weird.
Well, yeah, I could totally understand that. It's a sort of an awakening in a way. You're experiencing new things that you never really even knew were out there, right? From what you were not allowed to do. What denomination are we talking about that when you grew up in? Is it organized?
It is organized. And I'm going to say something, and I think some people might end up hating this, but it's Southern Baptists that go by non-denominational titles. Okay. And I don't say this in a petty way, but looking back in my experience and other people that I met, and, my dad was a pastor, and my whole family, we did music as musicians, as most families do in that culture. I don't remember not playing the piano. I don't remember not playing the violin, fiddle. But that being said, the non-denominational title kind of gives a construct to a lot of things you can get away with, because there's no box around you. But in my opinion, a non-denominational, when I hear that term, I'm always like, no. I'd honestly rather go to a Baptist or Methodist than non-denominational. That just, to me, that is a red flag. And don't get me wrong, again, I don't want to stereotype everything. I'm sure there's some great non-denominational churches out there. Sure. But in my experience, they tend to use that term to cover up a lot of other things underneath the rug, which I don't agree with.
So they're able to, I guess your dad was able to take it in a direction that he wanted to take it in and not be bound by the bumpers, I guess, from what, let's just say Southern Baptist, what that might be. So you grew up in this way. You how many siblings did you have?
I had 9 siblings. I have 9 siblings. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. And then how did this whole idea for the show come about, the reality show?
So yeah, that was not directly correlated to my family, but my family met the Plaths at these organized family events that are almost like basically Bible conferences, and they're designed for, because these families are so sheltered, right? Like I mentioned, you have these older kids, like me and my older siblings, we're all reaching teenagers or early 20s, and we have to start finding spouses. And my parents are trying to find spouses for all of us. So that's what these events are designed to do. And they call them shindigs. So that's where we met the Plaths. And man, there was 2,000 people there. I remember my family was performing for this conference, and I was like, I think I was 11. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 2,000 people here. This is crazy. Like, we're not even that good. Like, I can't believe we're up here. And the Plaths and our family just really clicked. We both were goat farmers. They lived in Southern Georgia. We lived in Southern Virginia. We just kind of like similar values. So that's really where things started. And my sister started talking to Ethan, and then the mom sort of became friends. We went and visited them a couple times. So basically with the show, Kim wanted their own reality TV show. Like a lot of those families do, like we were in the Bates and Duggar circle. So it was just like everyone just kind of knew, like those are the families that we look up to a lot at these conferences. Like, oh my gosh, I get to meet the Duggars. Like there's Jim Bob, So I think it was pretty natural. Like Kim wanted a show like that. It was like, let me advertise our way of lifestyle in our family.
Yeah.
So that's how the whole thing came about. And I only got thrown into the ring once I left that culture that I grew up in, because my sister was in the process of leaving when she was starting her divorce and everything. So we just kind of bonded, and, TLC reached out to me. They're like, hey, like, I think that it'd be really cool to have you on the show. Would you be okay with, having a storyline with your sister? And, yeah, that's really how it started. And that was in 2022, I think. Yeah, it's been a couple years.
Okay. I was going to ask you what year we were talking about. So not that far away, 2022.
No. And actually I was talking to my sister yesterday about this. And I had said some things in a previous podcast about comparing her and Kim and stuff. And, I apologize for that. And I was like, I really need you to understand though, like I didn't even, like, this is not excusing my behavior whatsoever. I don't think what I said was wrong per se, but I was trying to make observations and speculations based off a relationship that it was still new. And it's kind of like dating. Like me and my sister had to mend our relationship on public television. And that was really hard. Like we hadn't been close. And a lot of the people didn't get that. Obviously, like it's public television. They're going to have their own narrative. But
sure, it
was really weird trying to do that, like in front of cameras. And like there's a lot of hurt that's been there. Years and years of built up hurt. So trying to navigate that and being interviewed and having to do these publicity things. And I'm like I'm trying to do the best that I can. And I don't disagree with what I said, but also I know what I know today, what I didn't know then. So you don't know what you don't know. I don't know. It was like a really weird time. Like I just honestly feel like that was kind of a blur for me. There's a lot of personal things I was going through as well. I hadn't even moved out west yet. And there was a lot of things in my personal life that I was really struggling with, and I didn't have a family support system. And my sister was going through her own divorce. And so as much as I could lean on her, we could lean on each other. Like I wasn't going to lean on her too much because she had her own problems to deal with. So anyways, It was a very interesting experience, but I'm definitely grateful for it. And we've grown so close.
That's great. That's good to hear that you guys, and I didn't even know. So there was the difficulties you had during the show that you talk about that you've mended now, did that come about because of the show, or did they just capture some of the kind of strife that you guys had going on anyway?
I would say it kind of captured what was going on anyway, but the show kind of threw a wrench in things because I was close with one to two of the Plaths, one in particular, and that relationship ended up just dissipating overnight. And that was primarily because of my sister. But she was under pressure, not only from my parents, because she was still basically at the time of when the show started, I was in the process of leaving and I wasn't connected to my family anymore, and she still was. So it was really messy, to be honest. And I don't blame her for anything. She's responsible for her actions, but she did the best that she could. And if she had to go back and redo it, I know that she would. Just like if I could go back and redo things, I would. But I know that we did the best we could in the situation that was given.
Well, we all know kind of how that works. They put you down and they do those confessionals, and it's you say things and you don't know how they're going to use it. So they can build drama, and that's the whole point of the shows in the reality, quote unquote reality show, unscripted, that this drama plays out, but it may not be as high as they like to portray it. And I'm sure watching it back, did you ever watch it, or did you say I don't want to see anything?
I didn't want to see anything because someone sent me something, and it was like I was just expressing myself once I had moved out west, and I was like I was single, I was having a great time, and like then I had like some friends send things to each other of like a clip that TLC posted. I'm like, whoa, like that's just not what I said at all. Like I feel like it makes me out. But then like I think I've always been this way, but like I don't care how people view me. And my sister actually reminded me of this the other day. I love her, but she reminded me that you can't control the character that you play in someone else's story. So I've had to learn that in a very hard lesson over and over and over again. Because I can't control, with my family, with the Plath, like sure, there's relationship where they were basically lost overnight, but it wasn't necessarily because of what I did, because what I did wasn't wrong. I was expressing myself and standing up for myself. So how they view it, what they choose to do with that, and how they react has nothing to do with me. I can just make sure that I'm being kind, considerate, respectful, courteous, and treating others as they want to be treated. Like that really is the gist of life,
Yeah. And that's how you've always come across to me and what I've learned and seen. I mean, you've always been, your authentic self. And it just seems like we can all get in those situations, especially if you're being recorded 24/7 and you're being a part of a show like that. I mean, it's a lot of pressure on you to always watch what you're saying, and you're going to slip up no matter what. You're going to say things you wish you hadn't said. I mean, that's just natural of being a human being,
Yeah.
Was most of that drama just things that sisters argue about? Was there anything that was like really like a wedge, or was it just typical stuff that you go through when you're growing up with siblings that caused all the drama?
I definitely would say it was not typical because it wasn't per se between us. It was our parents, like most siblings. And I've kind of noticed this being out in the real world too, like whether it's babysitting or hanging out with people or meeting new families, meeting people in general, like siblings have a pretty tight bond most of the time. And if they don't, like that's to be expected either at a certain age or like something drastic happened where they couldn't be in that relationship. But it was a little bit different in my family. I think my parents definitely lived out of fear. Most parents in those cultures do.
Yeah.
But, me and my siblings never had each other's backs because if we did, we'd get in trouble. And there were severe consequences. And that kind of sounds like messed up to say, but I'm being completely honest. And I don't want to sugarcoat that, but I also don't want to make it sound more extreme than it was. I just kind of want to be blunt about that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really between us, like me, my sister, me, my siblings. It was more so our parents kind of getting in between that relationship because they didn't want to lose control. So for instance, I was the first one that left my family. My parents, they've never told me this because honestly, I haven't spoken to them for a long time. It's been years, but they felt like they lost control. They kind of felt like I was a cookie in the oven that didn't turn out right. And they were still trying to bake the other cookies to perfection. And I want to take that with me if I'm ever a parent, is that first off, one thing I've really come to terms with, and I'm perfectly fine with, is there's no parental guide. There's going to be no perfect parent. None of us is perfect. Parenting as a whole, man, that has got to be tough. Like I'm scared to be a parent. I would love kids, but I'm scared to be a parent. However, your kids are not extensions of you. And it's easy to get into the mindset that they are. And I think it has everything to do with unhealed baggage that you bring into a relationship or marriage. If you don't work on that, you're going to pass that down. It's going to look like different things in different forms. And I think for a lot of parents in that culture and those families, the dynamics that happen is that the kids feel so unsafe because the parents are afraid of losing control. So they crack down, they get strict, they get so harsh. And every kid has a different personality. And that does play a lot into what happens with the outcome of the family the older they grow up. And if you have a strong personality, someone that's strong-willed, someone that's stubborn, someone that's a free spirit, depending on how they function and their habits, if they leave, there's automatically going to be a black sheep label on them because the parents are so scared that they lost control that the energy is it's so negative and it's almost like ownership, And it really creates a rift in the family because then the siblings don't know if they should support the sibling that left. Because a lot of times the little siblings are like, oh, my stars, that older sibling left. Like, I want to support them. That's so cool. But they can't say anything because there's either going to be food held over their head. There's going to be an actual roof that's held over their head. Obviously, there's different extremes in different families, different dynamics. Some families are much better about not holding the basic bare minimum over their kids' heads, but some parents do that.
Hmm.
So it just creates a really unsafe environment. Everyone's trying to survive themselves, So like the little siblings want to support the older siblings. They want to be close to them, but they can't because now the older siblings are cut off, or whoever left is cut off. So all in all, that's how my parents felt when I left, is that they lost control, of that I didn't turn out, that I made wrong decisions, that I was going to make other people sin. I was going to make other people stumble, either by what I was wearing, what I was saying. And then I started slowly sharing my journey online through social media, because I started dating someone who really stuck up for me and loved me and took my side. And it was like, this person's a complete stranger. I've known him for 2 months and everything's happening. I got kicked out. My parents aren't talking to me. I have no place to live. He's known me for 2 months, and my parents have known me for 20 years. Like, what is going on? And I'm a very loyal person. So it took him and his family to tell me, listen, family is going to hurt you really bad sometimes. And family's who you make it. If they're not going to talk to you anymore, like, we'll be your family. And that was a really hard adjustment for me. Like, those are my parents, those are my siblings, and no one talked to me anymore, including my sister. And she was going through the thick of it as well. She had just got married, and she was trying to be close to our little siblings, because I'm 5 of 10, so she's 4. So there's like 5 underneath of us, and they were little at the time. I think the youngest was 6. And as much as we weren't close growing up, we also were super sheltered, so we didn't have many friends. So we're not close, but we're close. Not to make things more complicated, but.
No, but that's, I mean, and I just wanted to step back for a second. When you talk about holding food or even holding a place to live, how strict was the punishment for things? Was there ever physical abuse there? Was it just mental and emotional?
I would say there was definitely physical abuse. That is why the court trial happened a couple years ago, because things finally came to light, and my parents weren't involved with that. There was definitely some physical abuse on my parents' side. And whenever there was like repercussions of that, or like it was going to show, like someone had a really bad bruise or someone actually got physically hurt, it was one of those things where you don't go to church because you don't want anyone to see what happened. I remember that specifically happening with one of my siblings. They were just super, it was actually my brother that passed away, but he used to have just a really strong will, and my parents were really heavy on disciplining him, and it was years. It would be like every single day, years. And one of my parents would get so carried away because they would discipline out of anger that there would be some pretty big welts and bruises. And there was occasionally, I think in my recollection, there were 2 black eyes. One was also with another sibling. And every time it was, you're just not going to go to church because we don't want anyone to ask about that. On that note, we lived right by, in our little town in Virginia, we lived right by a social services building in the middle of nowhere, which is so interesting. But I just remember being a kid growing up and driving past that on the way to church every single day. And I don't necessarily remember my parents starting to talk about this. It's just something that I don't remember them not talking about, but it was always, that building's really bad. That building's really bad. Like, we don't support those people. That building's really bad.
Really? Wow.
And whenever people would come knock on our door, because we lived on a little farm, and it was kind of in the middle of nowhere. So it was kind of interesting when people knocked on the door, but my parents would always make us go downstairs and hide. And I find that really, I don't know how to feel about that now. Like, at the time, it just seemed so normal. It's like, you go hide, don't show your head. And now I'm just like, wow, that was really weird. But it just kind of makes sense, everything is, when you put, I'm going to say something that's really strong here, but I firmly believe this. When you start worshiping power itself, and you put all your beliefs, your values, your morals, and the way you treat people into one book, the Bible, I understand that scripture means a lot to people, but when you go extreme, the power dynamic is really skewed. And in this culture, specifically IBLP, you start worshiping the patriarchy as power. Women don't have any say. Women are objects. And it's very misogynistic, obviously. But when you start worshiping men as power, they're allowed to get away with and do anything. And it's almost like every man for himself. And that's why you have so much sexual abuse and so much manipulation and so much misogyny and so much domestic abuse happen in this culture, because there's no one holding them accountable.
And it's all covered up, right? It's secret. It's
all
secret.
covered up.
You're told not to say anything about. Whoa! First of all, I'm really sorry to hear about your brother. I didn't realize that you had lost him. Was that a recent thing, or yeah? Do you think any of that happened with him did that cause in any way, or do you?
I don't. Not so. His death definitely had nothing to do with that at all, but there was a lot of trauma that he carried as well from that. Mm-hmm. And it started, I really don't want to get sidetracked on this, but it definitely created a very interesting dynamic at the funeral. Me and my sister went to that funeral together, and we knew that the family wanted us there but didn't want to talk to us. So the family really didn't talk to us. So it was such an interesting funeral. I felt like we were celebrating someone because we hadn't seen or talked to him for 4 years because we are not allowed to have contact with our little siblings. So that was strange.
How old was he?
He was 15. He would have been 16 the next month.
Oh, wow. So sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. But along what I just said with the men receiving that power dynamic and not having any accountability, it's also like that with siblings too growing up. So if you have brothers, it's not that they can do no wrong, but they have so much more free will and privileges than girls do. Whether you want to look at it as college, because they definitely have access to college and women per se really don't, or it's having a computer, having an electronic device, or being able to go spend time with friends and wearing certain clothes. It really just all adds up, and it creates a spirit of fear in us too as women. And a lot of us are scared of our brothers because that physical dynamic is passed down from the dad to the brothers, and they don't think twice about it. They just think that that's who they are. But I can say from experience, after seeing some healthy family dynamics, that is not how it's supposed to be between brothers and sisters and fathers and daughters and women, women, wives and their sons. Like, it's just so intertwisted, and it just seems so normal when you're in it. Once you get out, just really, it's like a little computer chip. You have to start unplugging certain pieces to power it off. And you don't know what piece is powered off. Sometimes you pull out the wrong piece, and it's like, now I'm really crying today. Like, I don't know why I'm just crying when I just saw a mom give her son a hug, or I see a mother and daughter out on a date, not to be dramatic, but there's just a lot of things that you have to heal from.
Absolutely. I would guess too that when you started to date, I bet that caused some difficulties, I guess, knowing what real love is and knowing how, I guess, the roles and the dynamics. I would imagine that was really kind of difficult for you.
Yeah. We're still working on that one.
Yeah. Wow. You mentioned Trump earlier. Was your family really political? Do you remember growing up?
Yeah, to an extent. It was very hardcore Republican. I remember when Obama had won back in 2008. There were people in the congregation on Sunday morning that were saying just disrespectful stuff, but I was it was jokes disrespectfully. And now I'm wow, politics, why are we talking about presidents in church? Really?
Right.
But yeah, my parents were really strict voters. It was hardcore Republican. And no, Democrat was we had a president book in from the time I was growing. I can't remember not knowing this, but there was bad presidents in this president book and good presidents. And I knew.
Oh, wow.
Pictures,
Wow. So there's a who's who of presidents. Who's good, who's bad.
Right. Yes.
Wow. I wanted to get in, and first I got to say, I just think you have a lot of courage for leaving, and you feel proud of you for being able to step away from that and then kind of rediscover yourself. But if we can go back to that time, what clicked that you said enough is enough and I'm going to walk away? Can you take us back there?
Actually, absolutely. That was a turning point, and that's part of the reason why I am who I am today and why I am blessed and stressed.
Yeah.
I had just So the day after I graduated high school, before I graduated high school, I was like planning my escape to get away because all my other siblings got married to get out of the house. And I didn't want to get married. So I was like trying to plan what I needed to do. And I was like, didn't have access to most electronic devices. So I like was doing Spanish high school courses on a laptop that was my parents', and it was like heavily monitored, but I was like working. That's going to sound so weird, but like I was secretly emailing this Christian family resort camp in Maryland to like work there the summer after I graduated. But I couldn't tell my parents because I knew they weren't going to be happy with that. Olivia was considered the trouble child at first until I became a teenager. And then she has like a really good soft side of her that I don't have. She's really good at like knowing how to read the room and social skills. And she's so good at it. And I was never like that. I'm just very hardcore, stubborn, and strong-willed, and it gets the better of me sometimes. With that being said, I knew I wasn't going to get married. My parents were heavily keeping an eye on me from the time I was like 14 or 15 until I was 18. So I had to plan my exit strategically. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to go to this camp. So I emailed them. I honestly got the acceptance letter through email, then through mail. And then I told my parents that I was accepted to work at the camp. And my mom had worked at this camp 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
She's from that side of the country, like the Delaware area. So she just wasn't a fan of me going there because she wasn't going to be able to keep an eye on me. So she was worried about me. But I had already got the acceptance offer. So I basically was like, hey, I'm going. Like, you can drive me or I'm going to take a train. Like, I'm going to figure it out. So the day after I graduated high school, I had my little high school graduation party in this little town in Virginia. And then the next day, my dad was like, no, I'm going to take you. So he drove me to Maryland. I brought all my stuff with me. There's just very few that I left because I didn't know what I was going to do. But like, I think my parents expected me to come back after that summer and just be like, I'm going to live in Rocky Mountain. My mom wanted me to go to music school and be a voice major. And my dad was like, I think you should go to cosmetology school. Like, you're interested in that. And I knew I wasn't going to do that, but I couldn't let them know that. So after that summer, I was like, I'm not coming back. And they were really surprised by that. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay here. And staying there was one of the toughest decisions that I've made, not because it was bad for me, because it was really hard. As a woman growing up in that culture, you're not really allowed to have much finances. And if so, like, it's controlled to a certain extent. And you also just don't have the opportunity to earn a ton of money. Yeah. I worked in contracting and construction from when I was 16 to 18, honestly, with Olivia, with a family friend. So I had like a decent amount, but not much. But staying at that camp, I decided to do an internship and I had to pay for it. And so I was basically working for free for 9 months. And that was really hard. It was winter on the East Coast. I didn't have any family there. I felt so left out and misrepresented because all these kids around me that are like working at this Christian camp as well, they come from kind of normal backgrounds. Some of them went to public school. If not, they went to Christian school. If they were homeschooled, they had a circle. Like, they weren't as extreme. So even something like people would just like give me a weird look and I'm like, I don't know who SpongeBob is, you know? Like, I don't know who SpongeBob is. And like, who are you? Because I was 19, I was 18 going on 19 at this point. But yeah, long story short, to answer your question, I started dating this guy that lived right by this resort, and he didn't meet my parents' standards, and we made some decisions and choices. And not to get too into the weeds because it was a really messy fallout, but my parents basically decided to read some private entries I had, you know, in like a journal diary, and then just to tell the rest of the family. And it was very violating. As a 19-year-old that already felt shame around so many things, it was one of the things that I didn't know how to handle as well. And I ended up getting kicked out because they said, you can't continue to date him and like live with us. Because I was living with my mom's extended family at the time on the East Coast, and very conservative, very Republican, like everything's heavily saturated. So yeah, I am very stubborn. I was like, you're not going to tell me what to do. So,
wow. So you were at the camp, then came back home though. And then that's when they found out you were dating him?
Yes, I was not. Yeah, I wasn't public about it. But yeah, I just didn't want to be told what to do. So because they said it was them or the person I was dating, naturally I chose the person I was dating because someone that really cares about you wouldn't put you in a spot like that. Especially I was going on 20 years old and like these decisions that they were upset about, I could have easily made for myself. Like I wasn't harming anyone or engaging anyone. It was between me and my partner. And yeah, that was the start of it. You know, like I got a text while I was at work that all my stuff had been moved out to the curb and I had to go pick it up that night because it was going to get stolen. And
wow.
It was a really eye-opening moment that my parents were never going to be there for me. And if they were, it was going to be years, because that level of maturity to be like that to your child, it just speaks volumes.
Yeah, it does.
It was like, this is me. I'm 19. Like, I cannot imagine what my little siblings at home are going through. Like, I know what I went through, but like, I'm not them. Like, I don't know if things are getting worse there or not. And as a result of getting kicked out, I also lost access to talk to all my siblings. That was hard because I had a couple little siblings that really look up to me, and they're like, I can't believe you moved out. Like, good for you. Like, you're the first one of the kids, because 4 of my older siblings are married. Like, you're the first one to actually move out and do these things without getting married. That's so cool. I want to be like that, especially my little sisters. But losing access to have a relationship like that is basically a parent holding that over your head and treating them like your younger sibling is your parents' property. So you don't have access to them. And their whole reasoning was, we don't want you to influence them because you clearly don't respect us since you chose your partner over us. So you cannot talk to them anymore because we don't want them to grow a spirit of resentment. All in all, it was tough, but it really taught me to stand up for myself. And what I value, when push comes to shove, I will choose myself and what I believe is right. And it wasn't just myself and what I wanted. Honestly, that whole relationship wasn't even healthy for me. I was looking for another father figure. I was not in love with this person. I felt obligated to choose this person because they chose me. And it was the first person that chose me. You know, like, as much as I love my sister Olivia, she didn't choose me, you know, like, she chose me years down the road, and that's why we're close now. But it's taught me a lot in what I carry into life in the real world, and always trying to realize that I might not understand where people are because I haven't walked 2 miles in their shoes. But just because I don't understand it doesn't mean I can't have empathy. It doesn't mean I can't try to help them and actively seek out what they need, you know, like, even whether it's roommates, whether it's friends, whether it's people you meet through business, you know, you never know what anyone's going through. And I know what I went through. Sure, it was really bad, but there's people that have gone through way worse in those cultures. And that's why I want to spread awareness about it.
Well, you're so strong, and you're so, you just come across so well and confident. And that's great, because I feel like that you're very well adjusted after leaving, and you kind of, if it comes across to me like, you know who you are now, you know who you are, what you want. And I'm sure you're still learning and figuring those things out, but you do come across so well and so strong. So I just wanted you to know that, like, just talking to you, it's amazing. Now, does Olivia have any contact with the family, or is she like you, kind of out on her own?
She has moved back to that side of the country, so she's within hours of them, but she does not really have contact. And some of that's choice. I think, honestly, I've talked to 1 or 2 more siblings, and she has this year out of my choice. She's just really separated herself. She's gone a different way, and me and my sister are really close. We definitely have a good bit of differences, but hers is more choice, but also she's just not welcome, and she knows that. So
would you, looking back, and I probably know the answer to this question, but would you have done the same thing? Meaning, would you have left, looking back on that, and the cost that you kind of pay, I guess, being disconnected from your family? It seems like you're much healthier now, much better off, but have you ever thought about that? Like, would you have done it the exact same way?
No, I would not have. Reason being, I would have set myself up for more success. I'm a hard worker, but there's a lot I didn't know. And my stubbornness can get me in trouble sometimes. So I think I would have tried to learn a little bit more. And as much as I applaud myself for strategy, and I was the best I could do at the time, I would be way more strategic about maybe going back to school, maybe going to cosmetology school and staying there and being more well off financially, or living by myself in that same town where my family lived, but separating myself before moving across the country or jumping into a relationship. I always say this: I did the best that I could then. If I could go back and redo it, I'm going to say yes, because I have way more resources and tools in here. And I regret the fact that I hurt people. hurt people hurt people. I know I did the best that I could at the time, but I think I could have done a little bit better if I had set myself up for more success and just made one or two choices differently. I do not regret where I am, though. However, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm happy and confident, and I'm working on a lot of things, and I'm carrying around a lot of baggage these days that I'm really trying to get rid of and make it not affect the relationships around me. But it takes time.
It does.
Definitely takes a lot of time. And I'm really thankful for my sister because we can remind each other of that. Because, I mean, everyone's their own harshest critic, but I struggle with perfectionism. And it's really hard for me I feel like I work with a lot of men in business, whether it's because I do mostly music or, any realm of business, because I do a ton of networking, run a lot of business groups out west, and it's predominantly men. So navigating those relationships has been challenging for me. And that's something my sister can't help me with because we grew up the same way. And I don't have a mother figure or a father figure for that matter that I can call and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Because my parents aren't accessible to me that way. So figuring out how to deal with men in business and in normal life, like not being walked over, not being taken advantage of, not being objectified, but mutual respect, equality, and cheering each other on as equals, and just kind of like putting gender out the window sometimes is really difficult for me. I think that's going to continue to be difficult.
Yeah. But, and you're right. Everybody has that baggage. Everybody has that. Somebody's got something, everybody I always say everybody has something. So you try to figure that out and kind of maneuver the best way you can. And I'm sure it is tough. And especially in the music world, I'm sure there are a lot of strong male influence there, in business and trying to, there's a lot of probably closed doors and you have to find other ways in and ways of maneuvering, but you'll figure it out. I'm very confident that you're going to figure that out because I take it that you're not one to take no so quickly. You're going to find a way no matter what.
I firmly believe where God closes a door or in door slams, there's always a crack, a window, or a window that'll open.
Absolutely. Or there's a back door that's open and you can go around the back way.
You never know till you check. Looking back, I've heard so many stories of like when there's a essence of control or domineering, even if it's like a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, there's a lot of guilt that is put on the person because the dominating forces like to make them feel like it's their fault or there's guilt. Do you have any of that you're trying to work out now? And do you forgive your parents or are you still trying to figure that out? I definitely forgive my parents. Accepting the fact that there was no parenting guidebook for them and they did the best that they could. I will live by this. Intentions, I do believe for the most part were good with my parents. However, it does not take away from the responsibility that they have of bringing lives into this world and raising people, raising other humans. There's a whole different level of accountability and responsibility you bring on. And then one kid, let alone 10 kids, So if anything, they should have taken things way more seriously than they did. But I do think their intentions were good. So I do forgive them, Honestly, I was talking to this the other day with someone, and I don't really know why this is, but anger is not really an emotion that I feel. I think that definitely has a lot to do with trauma, but I feel more sadness. So I've honestly never been angry with my parents. They've said some really hurtful things. They've done some really messed up things, but I've never been angry. I've always been confident in myself, I guess. Like I never took the way they reacted to things and was like, oh, like this is my fault, which is so interesting because I do that with a lot of other relationships. I take on other people's emotions and I'm like, oh, it's my fault. I feel a lot of shame, but no, it's my parents. With male figures, I definitely tend to do that. And that's something that I'm really trying to get better. And I'm excited to get back into therapy. But with my parents, no, I definitely forgive them. There's even no resentment. There's just a sadness that there can't be a mutual level of respect between us.
That's a really healthy attitude to have to that. I mean, I think that frees you up as well because carrying around anger is not good for you. So I think if you've obviously found that way to release that. So that's good. And it is sad. It's not really, you're right. It's not anger. It's just a sad feeling that things had to be the way they had to be. And, and ultimately, you all are like, you suffer from it, but I feel like they were the adults in the situation when you guys were coming up. And that's not to say blame here or there, but it's just like you think of adults and the parents, and you think about that and how they've kind of treated all of you and set up that environment. So it's kind of it's sad. That's sad too. That's sad that you're out in the world now trying to figure it out and trying to find your way, but you're doing a great job at it. So
I
that's a
appreciate
good
that
thing.
so much. I think it's really important to take what you didn't have and return it tenfold to the people around you. I really think that's what we're put on this earth to do. Just help each other out and make everyone's lives better. And there's a reason why the golden rule exists. It's just a different way to say it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Do you think there'll ever be a day where do you fantasize about that, a day where everybody's happy again and you're able to see them, or everybody heals, I guess?
I definitely hope healing for everyone, including my parents, because there's some things that happened to them, which is part of the reason why they chose to do what they did.
Yeah.
I definitely never fantasize about happiness, but I think it's because it's just was never something that the family's ever been. It's not like the family was happy and then everything changed. The family's never been happy. And a lot of those families have never been happy. And if they were, it was before I even knew them or I was born or whatever. So no, I don't think I fantasize about that. I do fantasize about my siblings having kids and being really good parents. I'm worried about some of them. I fantasize also about having kids and giving them what I didn't have.
Yes.
It's really easy to play the victim mentality. And sure, I do feel like I missed out on so much. And I'm not going to lie, it is really easy sometimes for me to just be whiny about that. And there's no need to be. Like, age is just a concept. We're all aging, whether you're 5 or whether you're 55. So take what you didn't get and return it to the people around you. And if you have kids, give it to them tenfold if you can. And that's what I want to do. Such
a great attitude. I mean, we have to keep moving, right? That's our only choice, is to keep moving forward. I mean, no matter what our past was, we have to think about tomorrow and think about today first, but then knowing that good things are coming down the pike. So that's right. You've got many happy days ahead. I know it. I'm sure you're going to have kids one day, and Thanks. you're going to give that back to them, stuff that you didn't have. And, it's weird. I think sometimes negativity causes us to be better parents and better people when it comes to family, because you really long for what you didn't have. And so you want to give that to your kids and to your family. So that is so true. Where there is lack, there is always abundance somewhere else. That is right. That is so true. One thing I was curious, I wanted to bring back up because we spoke of it. I just held on to this, but those shindigs, like what was the end game for this whole, did they expect you all to go to these shindigs, meet somebody, and then stay within that community? Was that the ultimate plan for keeping everybody close knit and not stepping outside of that world? You would meet somebody in the same environment and you would just continue on. Is that what they wanted? Yeah, that was exactly the plan. Just meet like-minded people. We don't want you to meet someone that's unequally yoked. We don't want you to make friends with someone and then start to catch feelings for them if they're different than you. Like, it needs to be in the same circle. So yeah, it was very structured and they were fun. I mean, honestly, I met some cool people that I would never been allowed to date. That's what was cool too, is there are those people from all over. I'm sure you've heard of the Pearls. They're actually, Lebanon, but that's who it was thrown by, and that's where the concept started. And then some other families decided to take that idea and run with it, and that's how most of my older siblings met their spouses. It stopped with me. I wasn't going to let that happen. No way was I taking part of that. That was so dysfunctional. I'm not going to marry someone if I don't like them. So I'm out of that. I'm done. Right. That's a good, tell everybody what's going on now. What's your life look like right now? What are you into? Music has been a huge part of my life, and it kind of just fell into my lap. I grew up playing music. We traveled to so many different churches across the East Coast playing music, and I've always been a fiddle player because none of my siblings took to it. I was very bluegrass country oriented where we grew up, and I kind of made it my own once I moved out. People were like, "You're a fiddle player, like we'd love to have you play," and I'm like, "Really? I didn't realize it was this cool." And coming out here, it's a commodity. You got to have a fiddle in a country band. It's really true. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to take my wings and spread them. It might not be out west anymore. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. But come to Nashville.
I didn't say it. You did. Yeah, I've met so many cool people. Played with some pretty crazy cool names on stage, and I just never would have thought that would have happened. And it really is just putting yourself in the right place at the right time. And that goes back to putting yourself in spots where you're not comfortable. Yeah. And yeah, that's why Tennessee is a good spot to be. I do miss that side of the country. I'm so happy where I live now, and I've kind of built my own life. And I was planning on state hopping when I moved out. Like, Arizona was supposed to be, okay, this is fun for a year. Let's keep going. But life had different plans, and I ended up meeting someone, and they're based out of here. And there's just a lot that we're building in our own lives and together right now. So I'm also extremely happy out here. I think it's because I'm a lizard. I just love the sun, but it's beautiful. And I travel a lot for work music. It does take me back and forth quite a bit, but I'm always happy coming back here. I just take one look at the mountains and I'm so content. But we'll see what's in store. I do a lot of network businessing and work with social media, marketing, and PR, and it's also a really good field for development and growing professionally. As someone that didn't really get much of a high school education, to be honest, because it wasn't prioritized, it's something that I've struggled with, trying to work professionally and corporately in the business life, but also have really challenged myself to that. And I'm currently working on my degree, and I'm excited about that.
Good for you.
Thank you. I wanted to be the first woman to get a college degree out of all my family. That's not awesome. Like my parents and their parents, but yes, it was very important to me. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just kind of playing it casual right now, but there's a lot of cool things happening. I'm really excited for it. And yeah, continue to do what I'm doing. Keep flying, keep playing, keep meeting cool names, and putting myself in the right spots and keeping uncomfy where it's needed.
Yeah, and don't feel pressured. I mean, it's God's going to work it out the way it's supposed to. So if you're happy there, just go with it. And then, opportunities will come about, and you'll know when it's right, if it's right to move again. But you can definitely be an artist there. Now we've got so much technology and jumping on a plane to go somewhere. I mean, it's not like it's impossible to be based really anywhere,
Yeah. I have a couple of friends that I chat up occasionally. I'm like, hey, what's Nashville like? Hey, are you doing okay there? Hey, like, what does work look like? Hey, do you have any opportunities? And it's really nice having those connections over there too, because it's like I kind of get to have that world opening as well as here. Yeah. It's really a bubble out here. I think people don't realize that, but it really is in many ways.
Mm. Well, I know it's beautiful. Tennessee's beautiful. So wherever you end up, you're going to succeed. So I know that for sure.
Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, you definitely will. I know it. You're an amazing person. I want to thank you again for coming on, because I was excited to talk to you, but just learned so much about you, and you're doing so many cool things. And again, just really proud of what you've done and what you've been through and accomplished. So keep it up. You're doing great things.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you just taking the time to sit down and talk. This was so fun, and just kind of putting everything out there. I did say I'm an open book, so I don't think that you got any other impression. And I know I probably shared a lot, but I definitely think that it all needed to be shared for other people's benefit and to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. People, you never know who's going through something similar, and just hearing your story is going to give them courage that they need. But please stay in touch, and please come back when you have some time. I'd love to have another conversation.
Thanks, Jason. You're amazing. I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you. It's great to have a new friend. Thank you.
You too.
Happiness Sold Separately is created and hosted by Jason Hensley and is produced by Makash Films. Narration by Lauren Gobis. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs immediate help, call the National Mental Health Hotline at 866-903-3787. We would be honored if you would rate, share, and subscribe.
Aye, that's a good one.